step into the empowering world of Takech Historical Channel, where we celebrate the rich heritage and remarkable achievements of Africans and Black people throughout history.
In the realms of medieval Africa, a formidable warrior emerged in the southern territories, forging a legacy that would resonate through the ages. Have you ever encountered the remarkable account of a true African king, a military genius, who embodied the strength and majesty of a Black Panther? He had such a traumatic impact on the Portuguese that they called him a wizard and a rainmaker. This was due to many reasons. Changamire Dombo sits among the greatest African kings when it comes to his valiant reputation. But why haven't we heard his name? Perhaps it's because he was responsible for one of the most humiliating defeats that the Portuguese colonizers ever experienced. Dombo was born in the 1600s in modern-day Zimbabwe. He was one of the many citizens of King Mutapa's empire, which held a lot of power in the region. King Mutapa's reign was marked by repeated battles against the Portuguese. Due to infighting within Mutapa's empire, the Portuguese were able to sneak inside and gain some control. Many members of Mutapa's empire didn't like this, so they broke apart and formed their own independent armies. One of the people to do this was Dombo. He named his new group the Rozvi, which means destroyers or to plunder. Dombo and his Rozvi army became the greatest and most formidable in the region, displaying excellent military prowess. Dombo gained the name Changamire, which means Great Lord. In 1684, Changamire Dombo and the Rozvi went to battle against the Portuguese. Portugal was one of the first European powers, and by that time they were in control of the Mutapa gold mines. So Dombo and his new army the Rozvi wanted to recover their wealth. They fought the battle, armed with the traditional spears and shields and nearly won, but because of European guns, the Portuguese were not completely destroyed. But they were driven off the central plateau, and the Europeans retained only a nominal presence at one of the fair towns in the eastern highlands. Changamire brought the whole of present-day Zimbabwe under his control, forming a polity that became known as the Rozvi Empire. Changamire Dombo was not done with them, he turned to the women of his kingdom for help. The Rozvi women played a mind trick on the Portuguese. They got up early in the morning and lit a ring of fire around the Portuguese camp. This frightened them so badly that the Portuguese retreated. But this was not the best of it. The Mutapa Empire, which was now smaller, had gotten so tired of the Portuguese that they asked for Dombo's help. And he agreed. In 1693, Dombo and his Rozvi completely demolished the Portuguese. They destroyed Portuguese churches, attacked their settlements and even dug up their graves. Needless to say, this drove the Portuguese out of the region in an embarrassing manner. Dombo, an African man, stood up and inflicted the colonizers such a traumatic defeat that they never tried to invade the area again. They assumed that he had superpowers. They even wrote that he could kill people just by touching their body. Changamire Dombo ended up creating one of the greatest empires of southern Africa that stretched through parts of Zimbabwe, Mozambique and Zambia. The reign of Changamire Dombo was perhaps the greatest of all African kings, only closely matched by Shaka Zulu, who would come 100 years later. The history of Changamire Dombo is almost never taught. He is not really known by Africans all over the world. That's why I wanted to share this, to educate people about the victories and the impact that their African ancestors had on the people who have met them. Africans and Black people all over the world need more stories of greatness, victories and positivity to feed themselves, mostly children. Because their history is filled with it. But they are only told about a small part in which they went through struggles, for example slavery. The so-called blacks have been more victorious on this planet than any other group of people. Well, this goes to show how great Africa is. In conclusion, perhaps the inspiration for the Black Panther character stemmed from Changamire Dombo.